All right, welcome. Thanks for watching that video. If you haven't yet, you've got a little bit of time. We're going to do test 3 review today. I kind of rejigged some things. Since we had an extra day, I thought, you know what? Let's do that. All right, let's see here. But before, or maybe, that's okay. Before we do that, so this is this week. Okay. I did change it. So at first I had changed it so that we would cover 8.1 today, which is the last section that we're covering. So that's very exciting and it's a super fun section. So I look forward to teaching it. So maybe that's why I wanted to do it. But then I thought, you know what? No, we have an extra day. So I'm going to do review for the test, which is on Monday, right? So review for test 3. And but I also wanted to highlight that there are a couple of things here. Let's see if I can. I posted a lot of stuff. Let's see here. Turns out I did want a new note, but I haven't started one yet. Let me just start it out here. Math 114. There. Okay, so here you watch the video. So I was lucky enough to have a video that covered exactly what I wanted to cover, so that's good. And I put the link here, and of course it's from 2021. And so of course any term specific things, I think this was after they had written the test because I was running out of time. You never know. And then the notes that go with that video are here, right? So you've probably already seen this, but this is for Monday, right here. I did post assignment 11, okay? And I also posted 3 quizzes, 2 real ones, one's a bonus one if you wanna boost your grade, okay? So there's also quiz 8, quiz 9. All I've done is I've broken up section 7.2 and 7.3 and 7.5 into smaller quizzes, right? So that you get to practice. Okay. But you can use this quiz to boost your grade, your quiz grade, because it's set to drop your lowest quiz grade. So this is why. So if you decide not to do the bonus quiz, then you're unaffected by that. Okay. All right. So quite a few things. These, I can't remember when assignment 11 is due. But I think they're all due Sunday. So many arrows. How about this instead? Due Sunday, use as practice for test 3. Yeah. Especially the bonus quiz is of course more difficult than what I would expect on test 3, but it is good practice for the final exam. Okay, so because then you'll have had time to think about things and work on them and practice them. Okay. So next week on Monday, we have test 3, and then on Wednesday, we're going to do section 8.1, which is the last section. Okay. Sure. I'll just bring this in. Okay. So here, let me find a different color here. So Monday is test 3. It's going to be open all day again. That's not going to be the case for the final exam, right? And so the final exam has to be written during the scheduled time, okay? But because we're dealing with time zones and things like that, I just feel that it's a little bit nicer if you can just do it at any point during the day. And so let me clean this up here. Open all day on April 3rd. Okay. And then there's test 3 information is in its own block because there's so much. I want to be able to close it when I'm done with it, right? And so that's why I put it in its own block, but it's the block below. This is the last section that we're doing. Like I said, 8.1 is mortgages. It's super fun. And I already gave you the assignment and the quiz. If you kind of felt like working through it already, if you feel ready. And also I've posted a worksheet that we're going to be filling in class. Okay, so kind of pre-made up question. Okay, so the test is made up of 4 parts again. Each part has a time limit of 15 minutes. Ew, getting tight. Okay. You have to complete the first part before you do the second part before you do the third part, etc. Okay, and so, but I think that was the same for test 2. I can't quite remember. What's different about test 3 is there will be spots where you can put in the calculator entries if you're using the financial calculator. And if you're doing that, then you don't have to submit any written work. Okay, so for this one, the written work will be optional. So you don't need to submit work. But you'll see in the practice test how it's laid out. Okay? And so this is where you'll find the link for today's file that we're going to go through. Oops. Let's see here. So here, this is today. And if you're using the calculator functions, then you don't need to submit any work. And you've got those practice tests. They're not for marks. The reason they're not for marks is I want you to be able to try them as many times as you want, but also so that you can see the answers, review the answers, and kind of work backwards. And so that's why it's not for marks, and it should be just showing you and giving you different versions if you ask for it and stuff like that. So if it's not set to do that, I messed something up, and let me know and I'll fix it. Okay, so the practice test that we're going to go through today is just a PDF version of the test, okay, of the practice test, okay, and so I think hopefully it's different numbers. I can't remember, probably, but we start with part 1. Part 1 is just one question. But I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 3. So quite a few blocks to fill in. What is 6 times 3? I don't know. Math. I don't know. I don't do mental math. Everyone always thinks that I'm so good at mental math, and that's not what I do at all. All right. So let me grab all this. All right. So part one, we're going to be finding equivalent interest rates. This is from section 6.1, right? And so here, this is section 6.1 is where you'll find this stuff. The other parts kind of span chapter 6 and 7, so it won't be as concise, but for this question, it's only from section 6.1. All right, so if we have, consider a rate of interest of 6.1% compounded monthly, okay? Compute the equivalent periodic rate and equivalent interest rates below. Okay, so what we're given that R is 0.061 and it's compounded monthly. So F1 is 12. Now, when we're finding equivalent periodic interest rates and equivalent rates, right? Remember, F1 is the initial compounding frequency, and then we need to change it to match the payment frequency and or just a new frequency, right? And so what we want to do is we want to find, okay, F2, okay, so here, this is going to be F2, compounds per year, is what we're going to be moving to. Okay, so annually is, of course, 1 time per year. Semi-annually is 2 times per year. Quarterly is every 3 months, but that's 4 times per year. That's tricky, right? That's a little bit difficult, I find. So every 3 months is quarterly. Monthly is 12. Bi-weekly, remember, is 26, and daily is 365. You're going to have all the, so these aren't all the, it's almost all the frequency, so, right? You could do weekly, that's not on there. Weekly. 52. That's the only one missing, I think. Continuously. There is no F2, there's a special formula, right? And so you need to know that special formula. But let's just stick to the ones on the practice. Okay? So you're going to have some little cue card or something where you have all the frequencies, right? When you're doing the quiz, I don't want to see any wrong frequencies used, okay? There's no reason to, it's open book. And so just have it somewhere. All right. First, we want to find I2. Okay. Remembering that I2 is 1 plus I1 to the power of F1 over F2 minus 1. Okay. I1, where I1 is 0.061 divided by 12. And maybe I'll is R over F1. Sure, I'll bump it over. We should be careful, right? We should stack all our equal signs. 0.061 divided by 12. Let me just see if that gives me a nice number or what. I don't think so. 0.00508333. Okay. I am just going to call this I1. Okay. That way I can keep it. So if you're working on a real calculator, right, a handheld one, make sure you know your store function because you don't want to use any rounded values. Okay, so here, what I want to say, how do I, there, is do not use rounded values in future calculations. Okay. So you want to be really careful that you just keep all the decimal places for I1 and F1. And F1 is 12. Okay. So the only thing that's changing here, not the 1, not I1, not F1, it's only F2 that's changing. Okay. So let's see here. Let's start with annually. F2 is 1. Okay. So then I have I2 is 1 plus 0.061 divided by 12 to the power of 12 divided by 1 minus 1. Okay. There. Okay, so I have 1 plus I1 bracket to the power of 12, technically divided by 1, right? Doesn't matter. It doesn't do anything. Minus 1. Notice what happens if you forget the minus 1, you get 106.27%. That doesn't make sense, right? So that's why you have to subtract the 1. But then we get 0.062734896. I can't stop. Okay. So let's see here. I'm just trying to think how I should paste it. Oh, there. Okay, that seems to work. Insert, crop. You know what I'm gonna do instead? I'm gonna have all the calculations on one screenshot and then I'll paste it at the bottom. How about that? Because then I can just grab all the values and jot them down. That's what I'll do. Okay. So I2 is I just want it. Come on. Point 0.0627346896. Now remember, the rate, the equivalent rate, right? And R2 is I2 times, right? What am I doing? So if we call this R1, right? And let's call this R1. R2 is the equivalent interest rate, which is I2 times F2, right? If I multiply it over. That times 1. Doesn't change, obviously, because multiplying by 1 doesn't do anything, but R2 is 0.06273468996. Okay. Nice. So those are the values that are going to go in this table here. 0.0627346896. 0.0, same one, same value, 627346896. At this point, there's no point in trying to round it or anything else, right? Just give it as many decimal places as you can. Why not? Okay. Next frequency, semi-annually. So now semi-annually. Means that F2 is 2. So then the only change is 1 plus I1 bracket to the power of 12 divided by 2, right? Step it down, minus 1. So I2 is 1 plus I1 to the power of 12 divided by 2 minus 1. I2 is 0.0308902,413. And R2 is I2 times F2. So the previous answer times 2, which is 0.0617804826. So one thing you'll notice is that the equivalent rate should always be close to the original rate, right? 6.1%. Here we have 6.178%. That's relatively close, right? And so that's one thing that you'll want to check, right? Always make sure this value is similar to R1, which is 6.1%, right? Which it is in this case. So I have this value. This is my periodic interest rate. And here is my equivalent rate. Copy. There. Now, instead of spending all our time calculating these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to screenshot the calculations so that you have them. And then before I post the notes, I'll fill in the remaining solutions, okay? But you do the same thing, remembering that only F2 is changing, right? And so I'll take a screenshot, but I actually like it condensed. Here. Done. Drop. Okay. So like I said, I will finish those, but try to work through them and see where you get to. And then I'll post the solutions. All right. So what I want to do is just talk about the layout here because it's the exact same layout as the Moodle quiz. And so we'll read all the instructions together and then hopefully it'll all be fine on the test. Oops. Okay. So of course it starts with the question. That's great. Yeah. And then here, this, and maybe I'll kind of scrunch it down a bit. This is going to be the same for every question. Okay, so once you've read it and understood it and you follow those rules, then you're okay to ignore it. Okay, so this is the same information for every question. I promise. Okay. Here, the second part is just telling you exactly what to do in the final answer. Okay, and then I do want you to include units here. Okay, but there are a couple of things to keep in mind. So fill out the chart below with the correct calculator values. Okay, so notice how it has the exact same values that we've been writing down when we use the calculator, right? Do not include any units and do not use any negative signs. Of course, if you're going to solve it in your calculator, you need to have those negative signs. But here, Moodle can't handle the negatives. It doesn't know what to do, especially because sometimes it doesn't matter which one is negative. So that's really hard to program. Okay. So that's why no negatives, only positives. Okay. Use a 0 in the chart if the value in the question is unknown or to be calculated. Okay, so if it's the one that you're calculating, there is a spot for the answer here, and that's where it should go. Okay. For the mode, right, you have the begin or the end. And so if it's at the beginning, use a 1. And if it's at the end, give me a 2. Okay. So with that, I think we're ready to solve this problem. In terms of marks, each of these questions are 2 marks each. Okay. And so here, the calculator entries are 1.6 marks. And the final answer is 0.4 marks. So it's worth double the calculator slots. Okay. 0.4 marks. So finding the answer involves using your negatives correctly in your calculator, but you can get a lot of part marks by just entering the calculator entries, right? So what I encourage you to do is, even if you don't have time to figure out what the problem is, you can still read the question and put in a lot of these answers already. Okay. So let's do the questions, shall we? Now, you do not need to give me timelines. I find them helpful. Sometimes it's a little bit simple, the question, so then I'm not going to do it. But for us, we're practicing, so maybe I should. All right. You've decided to buy 25% by a 25% partnership in an accounting firm by end of month payments of $2,200, including interest at 4% per year, compounded semi-annually for 4 years. What valuation was placed on the partnership at the beginning of the payments? Okay. Now, if it's not clear, right, that you need to find the present value, right? The value of whatever you're buying into is the present value. Well, here I tell you, find the present value of the annuity today, right? And so I kind of nudge you in the right direction here. Right. So here, but also notice that it's down here, right? So I do ask you, and even the question says, okay, what's the present value of the annuity? So one thing I want you to do, right, is, oh, sorry, my nose is so itchy. use a 0 in the chart if the value in the question is unknown or to be calculated. So right away, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 0 for the present value. What are some things we see? So this 25% is actually kind of a decoy number. Doesn't tell us anything, but we don't know that yet. But when I see it, I don't have a clear placement for it, so I'm going to leave it for a bit. But like I said, it's not actually doing anything. But we're doing end of month. So end means that the mode is 2, right? So I'm going to do that. And F1, or sorry, F2 is the payments. And you know what? Payments per year is 12. End of month payments. So the payments per year is 12. The payment amount, PMT, is 2,200. So we don't do any negatives, right, in this outline, but in your calculator, right, if you're making payments, then that's going to be negative, right? And so here, this is going to be 2,200, but negative 2,200 on the calculator. Okay, but do not use any negative signs. But on your calculator, you will need negative values, right? And so if you're making payments, then they're negative. The interest per year, let's see if I have a different color here. Let's use this one. %. So here, the interest per year is 4. Remember, it doesn't need any units, but also it has to be the whole number, right? It takes the percentage. Compounded semi-annually, so the compoundings per year is 2. For 4 years. So let's see here. For 4 years. N is time times F2, okay, the payment frequency. Which is 12. As long as you remember that it's the number of payments. So here, N is the number of payments. So N is going to be 4 times 12 payments per year. 48. Oops. Only a few spots are missing. In fact, the future value is 0. What would the future value have to be? If you have paid off the loan, right, then the future value must be 0, right? And so here, if we have paid off the loan, then this value is 0. Okay. If we were doing this by hand, we would need to find I2 first, right? Because these are not the same, but in the case of the calculator, we don't have to do that. And so I think we're ready to do this. Let me see if I can just remember all of this. Okay. Notice that I'm in begin mode because I didn't clear it before, so I'll need to change that to end mode. Where do I see it? So it's at the top of the screen. It's just tiny, but it's there. So what I'm going to do is second begin, and then second enter, and now it's changed to end. Okay, second quit. Now I'm ready. Okay, N was 48. Sorry, there. No, clear. 48 into N, there, that's better. 4 was the interest per year. The present value is what I want to solve for, so I'm going to put 0 in for now. And then the payments are negative, right? 2200, negative into the payments. The future value is 0. 12 payments per year, that's correct. And 2 compoundings per year. And when you're in the second menu, you have to hit enter, right? And then quit. And now I can compute the present value, which I'm going to bring in here. So I get 9,700, or sorry, $97,499.06, and it needs units. Include units in this answer, and that's dollars. And so that's how much 25% of the firm is worth. And so then what can we do? I can multiply this by 4 to know the total value of the firm. That would be another question that we could ask, but we'll just leave it here. Okay. Great. Done. Question 2. Oh, I didn't do a timeline. That's okay. You know what? I'm going to skip the timelines just because you don't have to do timelines for the quiz, or sorry, for the test. And so, so I'm going to skip it. Okay, because otherwise you might get confused. Not that you'll be confused, but and think that you need to do a timeline, right? So what I'm going to do for this question is just show you how little work you need to show. Okay, so a 7-year-old child starts saving $10 per month in an account that earns 2% compounded annually. If they continue until they turn 65, how much money will be in the account? Okay, this is all the same information as before. It's very important that you follow all these instructions, right? But once you've read it and kind of committed it, then you're okay. We want to find the future value of the annuity, include units in this answer, and here the future value of the annuity. First thing we want to do is figure out how many payments. So N is the number of payments. So N is 65. There are already 7. And they're going to keep saving until they're 65. So 65 minus 7 times 12 months. That is not something I want to do. Okay. I'm going to clear all. 65, but they're already 7. So saving for 58 years. Okay. 58 times 12, so that's 696 payments. Awesome. Okay, oops. So 696 payments. 2%, 2, compounded annually, 1. So the compoundings per year is 1. It's per month. So the payments per year is 12. One thing to remember is that if the payments are at the beginning, it will have to say so explicitly. If it's unclear, they're at the end. Okay, so the default is that the payments are at the end. When it is unclear if payments are at the beginning or the end, it will be the end. Okay, so the default is end. So unless it's very clear that it's at the beginning, it'll be at the end. And so here, the end is a 2. The payment amounts. So here, you've got the payment amount. I was gonna keep it as drab as I could for this one. The payment amount is 10. Okay. No, remembering no negatives here, but if they're making payments, right, these values are negative, right? And so on the calculator, what you would need is negative 10. Okay. Let's think about the present value. If they're 7 years old and they start saving $10 per month, then the present value is 0. The value of this thing today is 0. Okay. The future value, find the future value. That's what we want to find. And we could have just started with a 0 there because that's what we want to find down below, right? And so let's go ahead and use the calculator. Oh, he wants me to watch this ad, I guess. Oops, no. Oh no, now I'm hooped. I clicked on it, I think. No. There. That took a while, okay. Clear this. N was 696, I think. Yeah. 2% per year, 0 present value. So you can see how quickly you'll be able to move, right? Negative, 10 is the payment, 0 for the future value. That's what I want to come back and calculate. 12 payments per year, and the compoundings per year was, I can't remember, 1. So I'm going to change this to 1, enter. Make sure you're in end mode, which we are, and compute future value. Hey, not bad. So the future value is 13,039.77. That's not bad for $10 a month. I mean, they do go until they're 65, but still, still pretty good. Okay. So that's really how little work you'll need to do, right? It's all conceptual at this point. And so there's very little math involved at this point. And so as long as you keep track of these negatives, then you're okay. In this case, it wouldn't have mattered. So you're safe either way. All right. Part 3. Okay, I deposit $150 into a savings account at the end of each week for 4 years. Assume my savings earn 0.5% interest compounded semi-annually. Okay. Let's see how much we can fill in without doing very much work. The only calculation we need to do really is n. So then n is the number of payments. And so at the end of each week for 4 years. And so it's going to be 4 times 52 weeks per year. Let's do that. 4 times 52, 208. $208 payments. The interest per year is 0.5. Notice that that is a percentage. Okay. The payment amount, okay, let's just go through here, is 150. If I'm making payments, that's going to be negative on your calculator, right? And so negative, oh, sorry. For the entry, 150, but it should be negative 150. If I start today, and there's no mention of any money existing in this account already, then the present value must be 0, right? We're also asked to find the future value of the annuity. It's everywhere here. So then the future value is also 0. I make 52 payments per year because it's weekly. And so 52 payments per year, and it's compounded semi-annually, so 2 times per year, and it's at the end of each week. And so the mode is 2. Okay. Let's see if I can. 208. Okay, I've got it locked in here. So the 208 is my N. The interest per year was 0.5. Okay, kind of sneaky because it's a small percentage, but I mean, it's realistic right now. So 0 for the present value, 150 negative for the payment amount, 0 for the future value, 52 payments per year, and then scroll down and it's 2 compoundings per year. Make sure you hit enter after. I like to scroll around, right? Use these down, up and down buttons to make sure that it's locked in the values that I want. And then to leave the second menu, second quit. Now compute the future value. $31,512.18. Okay. Nice. bigger. Okay. You decide you want to buy a new house. To prepare for this, you set up an account earning 7% compounded weekly, and you plan to contribute bi-weekly payments, okay, at the end of every 2 weeks. It clarifies. Your goal is to have 588,000 within 5 years. Okay? So we're going to need to find the number of payments again. Okay. But besides that, there's minimal work involved. So 5 years, and you're going to make bi-weekly payments, which is 26 times per year, right? So 26, 5 times 26. It's 130 payments. So I'm going to put that down here. 7% compounded weekly. So the compoundings per year is 52, and the payments per year is 26. Okay. You can see how useful it'll be to have some table like that table that we made at when we introduced section 6.1. We made a table of frequencies. You're going to want to have that handy during the test. Okay. And okie dokie, 7%. It doesn't say that you're starting with any value, and so the present value must be 0. But we also want to find the periodic payment. Okay, so the periodic payment is the PMT, which means that this is going to be 0 until I've solved it, but the solved value goes here, right? The future value, I need it to be $588,000. Okay, so I need it to be 58800. On your calculator, think about, is that going to be positive or negative? That's going to be positive on your calculator, right? And so on your calculator, it's also 588,000. Okay. Why is it positive? Because you're going to be making payments, so those are all negative. And then at the end of the 5 years, you get 588,000, which you then decide to spend on a house, right? But in the transaction, you get 588,000. Okay. And it's at the end, which means the mode is going to be entered as a 2. Okay. And the PMT, which is the periodic payment, remember? Okay, so we're ready to calculate this. Just need to commit these values to memory. The nice part about doing the calculation for n on this calculator is now I can just put it in for n, right? That's nice. I have forgotten already what the interest rate was, 7%. Present value is 0. I'm trying to solve for the payment amount, and I need the future value to be 588,000. The payments per year is 26, I think. Yeah, 26. Enter. Scroll down. Compoundings per year, that's weekly. Enter. Quit. Now I can compute the PMT. Notice that this value is negative, right? That doesn't mean that the answer is negative. It just means that you have to make those payments, right? So that's what I want to clarify here. Is that okay? So here, notice that this is negative, but the answer 3783018, sorry. Yeah. No negative, right? Because you can't make a payment of negative dollars, but the notation is that you would be making those payments, right? And that's correct. All right. Nice. On to part 4. Remember, these, you have to be really quick at entering these values, or at least figuring out what the calculator entries are, because you only have 15 minutes per part. Okay. And so you want to be really quick about it. Oops. All right. Borders Manufacturing wants to accumulate $2,010,000 for an expansion plan to begin in 4 years. If starting today, okay, and so this means what? It means that these are the beginning of whatever the payment frequency is, right? And so here, when they start today, then it's the mode is going to be 1. Border makes the first of equal monthly payments into a fund earning 8% compounded semi-annually. What size should these payments be? Okay. So wants to accumulate makes this a future value. And so let's enter it as it appears, 2,010,000. On your calculator, it's also going to be positive, right? Because they want to get the 2,010,000 at the end. Okay. N is 4 years, okay, and they're going to make equal monthly payments. So 12 payments per year. So N is 48. The interest per year is 8. Oops, doesn't look like 8 there. Compounded semi-annually, so 2, and the payments per year we said was 12. No mention of any money in the account right now, so the present value is 0, and we want to solve for the payment, so we have to enter 0 there right now as well. Okay. Let's see here. Close. All right. Let me just confirm. 4 times 12 payments is 48, which goes into N. The interest per year was 8. Oops. Come on. Ugh. There. 8 interest per year, 0 present value. We're trying to solve for the payments, so that's going to be 0 for now. The future value is going to be 2,010,000. 1, 2, 3. Looks good. Future value. Payments per year. Oh no, I'm blanking. 12. Enter. Compoundings per year. Oh no. 2. Enter. Scroll around, make sure it looks good. Quit. what's the last thing? I need to change my mode, right, to begin. And so second, begin, second, enter. Okay, notice that it says little begin at the top, quit. Okay, make sure it holds that begin. And now compute the PMT. Oops. So it's going to be 35,532.25. Making sure that you have this little begin here. All right. Last question. Oops. Hey. I think it is. Okay. Darla gets paid on the 1st of each month. So that makes what? The beginning of the month. Okay. We'll see if there's any other clues, but I don't think there will be, and we don't need it. But when it's at the 1st of each month, then it's at the beginning, right? And so here, payment frequency is monthly, and or maybe let's read the whole question first, because it's Darla gets paid on the 1st of each month and set up an automatic withdrawal to coincide with her payday to put $300 into a TFSA each month. Okay, so it is monthly. Her TFSA earns 1.2% per year, compounded quarterly. How much will be in the account in 14 years? So let's jot down. So the first thing is that the mode needs to be 1. Now, right, this was our only clue, the 1st of each month. Okay, but that is the beginning, right? At the end of each month would be at the end. Right? So the payments per year is monthly, right? So 12. She's gonna put it there for 14 years. So N is 14 times 12 payments. Oh, stay here. And so 14 times 12. Let's see here. No, not going in. $168. Okay. So 168 payments. The interest per year is 1.2% per year compounded quarterly. So the compoundings per year is 4. How much will be in the account in 14 years? So it says find the amount of the annuity. So the future value of the annuity, which means that this future value slot must be 0. Okay. The payment amount is 300, but on your calculator, you'll need to do negative 300. Why? Because she's making these payments, right? At the end, she's going to get this total amount. It makes no mention of her starting with any dollar amount. And so the present value is going to be 0. But now we're ready to do this calculation. Remembering that, before I go there, we need to be in begin mode And because the previous question was in begin, I think we're already there, but that's something that we need to make sure of. All right, so let's go back there. I am in begin mode, so that's good. That's something that's, you can play around with it, right? And calculate values and change the begin mode and the end mode. They're not going to change drastically, but they're going to be just off that you won't get any marks. Okay. And so 168 is your N. The interest per year was 1.2%. The initial amount in the account is $0. $300 payments negative. I'm solving for the future value. I'm making, I think it's 12 payments per year still. Yes, and the compoundings per year is 4. Enter. Again, just scroll around, make sure they saved properly. Make sure you're in begin mode, and then you can compute the future value. Save. Crop. So in 14 years, she's going to have 54,091 and 29 pennies in the account. Make sure that you have this begin mode. Right. Okay. Nice. So let's see here. Let me just make sure. So that's the end of the practice, all 4 parts. And what you'll notice is that the Moodle practice quiz or the practice test is going to be very similar. So if there's anything that you're kind of shaky about, then you'll get to practice all those. But that's all I had planned for us today. And I know we're ending early, but maybe you can use this time to do some practice. You've also got quizzes closing tonight. Okay. And I think it's quiz maybe 6 and 7 closing tonight. Let me add that to the top. But first, let me check. How does this work? Quiz assignment 10, quiz 6, and quiz 7 all close tonight. Maybe I'll have to put it at the bottom. Note. Assignment number, I think it was 7. Sorry, 10, section 7.1. Assignment number 10, quiz number 6, and quiz number 7 all close tonight. So maybe you can use this time if you haven't done them already to work through those. But I think we'll end there for today. And then the test will be open all day on Monday. So then I'll see you again on Wednesday. Crazy, for our very last section of material. If you have any questions, let me know. But I'm gonna stop the recording here.